All right. Well, let's talk about contract quality based on the risk and the incentives that go with contracts between the owner and the contractor. Um, so, quality and fairness. Everyone wants quality at a reasonable cost. Not everyone is willing to share in the risk of the expense to ensure the quality of the construction. So, those are the two facts that I've learned over the years, and the best you can do is find a happy medium in between. You're going to find out when you're on the job that there will be a lot of arguments going on as to who's responsible for what or why things happen. So I want to walk through some of these and talk about them as we go down through this. But the other fact that I know from projects is the owner is always trying to tighten the belt on the contractor, while the contractor is quite trying to squeeze every last dollar out of the owner. It's the way that this relationship will always work until both sides are actually in it together. You're never going to see a difference in that. But keep those in mind. They're not a bad thing. It's just it is the way things are right now. The way around this problem is for both parties to accept the risk and sharing of the project and define it up front in a contract that ensures both parties will be accountable for the profits and loss on the project. Okay? Um, that's a lot easier said than it actually is done, but that's the ultimate goal of contract quality and why we have so many um, people overseeing what a contract looks like and have the lawyers involved at different steps along the way. So, in public loan projects, the easiest way to adopt the federal government's risk sharing and risk assignment contract. These contracts have the upside of the bid price will decrease with its use, but the downside is there's more disputes on the contract than before using the risk method. In such a thing, what you're looking at is because the federal government assumes some of the risk and shares it with the contractor. The contractor can afford to put in a lower price, but then things change or get discovered, and that has to be corrected. And those are the parts where you start winding up with having disputes that need to get sorted out. All right. The best way to solve this is provide in the contract provisions with strong and clear statements as to who's going to be responsible for the risk and how it's going to get shared, and assign the responsibilities up front. Okay. So that's some of the general rules here. The most disputed contract type is a lump sum. And go back, we did a little bit lecture on lump sum contracting. In both private and the public realm is where these disputes come from. The noteworthy factors are these four here. So unbalanced bids and unit price on which the periodic payment estimates are based. Explain that one in a little more detail in a minute. Change orders subject to negotiated payments. Changes in design or construction technology, and the incentive for early completion. So that's part of what we wind up dealing with here. And I just want to put a little note in here as I'm reading this on balance bids, and then get these highlighted so you can see the headings for these properly. Unbalanced bids are based on the unit price in the early stages being higher, where in the lower or the latter stages of it, the price gets lower. This is done because the contractor is trying to figure out a way to finance the project and get all the bills paid up front. So you remember the S-shaped curve we talked about earlier in the semester, where we'd like to have a nice balanced, smooth increase in payments and then taper off. Well, the contractor is trying to shift that curve in reverse so that he gets more money or she gets more money in the project, but the owner is paying out more. So that's an unbalanced bid. The owner can offer incentives in exchange for a more balanced bid system, and that usually helps solve some of this. Unbalanced bids can also occur when the contractor feels that some of the work items were underestimated in the amount by the owner's engineers and architects. So let's say it's going to take, the owner estimates or the engineers estimate it'll take 10 days to do this digging, and the contractor gets there and finds out that the soil analysis were wrong and the digging of this hole is longer. It could also be that you know the electricians or the mechanical group shows up to do work and discovers that penetrating walls are not as easy as the engineers had estimated. Um, Give you a good example of this one. The concrete blocks of today are thinner webbed than the concrete blocks of the 1960s. So if you're coring a hole through a wall to run let's say a 4-inch or 5-inch conduit to carry power to the next space you need it to be, the time it takes to actually core that hole through a 12-inch block may be much longer than anybody anticipated, and the contractor is going to lose money on that. So that's one of the things that the contractor will charge more money for up front. Okay. So the solution to this one is to have the contractor provide proof of financial records of the work in question. So the owner would ask for this during the monthly billing done by the contractor. And for example, if it was the core drilling through a 12-inch block with the thick webs and it's taking longer to do, it could be evidence of showing that the clerk of the works was there to watch the operation and time the event, and that is documented and then turned into the owner with the bid. So you have the owner's representative there watching the coring of that. And the same would go for if it's a digging operation or for some strange reason the fabrication of new walls takes longer. When you feel like there's a point where you're going to have to charge a little more, you want the owner's representative there to watch you doing it. So, all right, the next major area that is always a construction project's nightmare is change orders. And change orders will have and will always provide everybody anxiety. The owners don't want to have to pay for something that they want changed, but the contractor wants to get paid for the changes. Well, a lot of this is because someone didn't do their work ahead of time to really figure things out. So like in the core drilling of a concrete block wall, to get the 4-inch conduit through in a renovation project to get power out to the new part of the building. That's stuff that somebody should have done some exploration up front and determine what it's really going to take time-wise to do this thing. Okay. If delays are acceptable, the owner is willing to pay, then the work can proceed. So literally, you want to know up front that you're going to get paid for it. Okay. I think I missed a statement there. If the change order is requested, the contractor should provide the owner with a valid estimate and do so quickly so they can determine the current prices. If delays are acceptable and the owner is willing to pay, then the work can proceed. It has to be kept in mind that the changes was something that was noticed that would improve the building. It was not foreseen in the design phase. Okay, settlement of cost on the change order should be done prior to work taking place. As after the fact, it will be difficult to negotiate the payments. So basically, you want to make sure that you are able to get paid for this work and not be stiffed by the owner in the end. So again, you want good documentation that this happened. Change orders can be a good thing as the quality of the work or the method to achieve outcome will be used. Use better materials, and it'll lead to better methods, making the owner happy in the long run. And thus, if the owner's happy, the contractor's happy, the owner will value the work and probably want the contractor back for other jobs. So there's a win-win here if you can make this all work smoothly. Change orders can, Innovate the process, save time, money, while unsuccessful innovation will cost money on all three of these. So we don't want to waste time and money, and we sure want to make sure the process goes as smooth as possible. So careful with what you're asking for. Um, these discussions on change orders will continue to be part of the industry despite engineers and architects being told time and time again to do better designs and do those investigations that really lead to exploring what problems you're going to run into down the road. It's cheaper from a design standpoint to do a lot of paper up front early in the project and get designs done well than it is to have things redesigned during the process. So there's been a trend in the industry. Well, engineers do a quick, dirty job of getting the stuff designed, and then figure they'll just deal with any changes that need to happen with the change orders in the process. Well, that leads to costly bids and doesn't provide the quality that people are looking for. So the job of everybody in the industry is to ensure that the designs are done right, the investigations are done right, and what needs to be taken care of, and that all the estimates and bidding is done with the best intent and best fairness of all. And when something does happen, that everybody is responsible for the change. So let's see. Yeah, I refer to this as the carrot and stick method. It's a philosophy that'll probably go on for many years. You want to incentivize people to do things. You also want to penalize them for not doing the things they should have done. So that's always going to be a problem down the road. So, all right. So Carnegie Mellon's author put in a little case study here. So it's probably worth a brief conversation. In 1986 court case, and illustrates the assumption of risk on the part of the contractor and design professionals. The Arkansas Rice Growers Cooperative contracted with Alchemy Industries Incorporated to provide engineering and construction services for a new facility intended to generate steam by burning rice hulls. Under the terms of the contract, Alchemy Industry guaranteed that the plant would be capable of reducing a minimum of 7.5 tons of rice hulls per hour to an ash and producing a minimum of 48 million BTUs per hour of steam at 200 pounds pressure. Unfortunately, the finished plant did not meet the performance standards, and the Arkansas Growers Cooperative Association sued the Alchemy Industries and the subcontractors for breach of warranty. Damages was awarded as $1.5 million to the association. So that's coming out of the contractor's pocket, or the subcontractors in this case too. And then there's going to be lawsuits between the subcontractors and Alchemy Industries. How much of that really went back on the original prime contractor, and the prime contractor is going to try and shove it down to the subcontractor. It's problem with change orders and fights like this is it's always going to be somebody pointing the finger at somebody else and trying to get them to be responsible for it. And it's a tough thing to get done with, but it's also what keeps the courts in business and lawyers employed and that sort of stuff. So, but literally not promising what you deliver and not paying attention to it. So could have been, there would have been a change order that would have changed the particular boiler out or something else, and they would have achieved what they were supposed to have done. And that would have been money well spent in the long run. All right, well, that's today's video on contract quality and risk incentives. Talk to you at the next video.